Welcome to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Made a song called The Dark Horse. And in that song is basically a chant to Satan, literally just to the devil himself. It's about black magic.
She was a pop star.
She was a pop star. What's funny about her is her career started in gospel music. She was actually very spiritual. And there's even a video clip of her that if you guys go and search, she's being interviewed and she's like, they ask me like, well, why did you leave gospel? She's like, well, I guess I sold my soul to the devil. And she gives like this weird look. That song, The Dark Horse, is literally talking and singing and praising the demonic realm, Satan himself. Why? She's dressed like Pharaoh of ancient Egypt who practices black magic. And in the original version of the video, there's a man wearing one eye patch, which in Islam, they believe that the Antichrist will have only one eye, physically one eye. He'll have two eyes, but one eye is damaged in Islam's version of Armageddon, right? Okay. In this music video, if you guys all go watch it and listen to it, you'll see a man with an eye patch approaching her while she's on a throne impersonating the Pharaoh of Egypt, which is one of the most hated people spiritually by God, period, is Pharaoh, because he's a man that said, I am God on earth, even though he saw the miracles that Moses brought, right? Make the story short, this man approaches in the video and she goes, I'm coming at you like a dark horse. And she goes like this, like, do you believe in magic? She's praising black magic, okay? In that video, she zaps this guy with the eye patch with black magic. Around his neck are a lot of gold chains and jewelry. One of the chains in the original edit of the video actually had the word Allah in Arabic on it. So she zaps this man and he completely dissolves into sand. So the Muslims freeze frame and realize, why would they have the Allah chain, which we believe is universal word for God in Arabic, Aramaic, Hebrew.
Wow. I knew that music video had a lot of satanic imagery and symbolism and stuff in it, but I didn't know what that stuff represented specifically. That's crazy considering how she got started. I used to be into a lot of Christian bands whenever I was in my mid-20s, and there was this band called Relient K that wrote one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking albums that I've ever heard still to this day. And the lore is that this entire album was written by the lead singer about him trying to get over Katy Perry when she walked away from religion and broke up with him and he had to choose God. I don't know for certain that that's exactly how things played out, but that's the rumor. It really makes the lyrics in those songs hit a lot deeper though, knowing how far she dove off the deep end in this Satanism stuff.
A woman named Luge often paints various different pictures and sells them. Among all her paintings, one piece in particular stood out the most for an unusual reason. The painting itself depicts the sea at night and was painted during the pandemic. Unfortunately, this piece didn't sell, so she hung it up in the house. Ever since hanging this picture up, the family swears they would see the painting moving from time to time, and on one occasion they captured this.
Mira, te digo que algo se mueve en el cuadro. Fíjate bien, quédatele viendo. ¿Ya viste? Ay, no mames, güey. Sí.
What looks like a small piece of the painting begins to move on its own. Even stranger is that the leaf of the plant beside it also moves very slightly around the same time. Luge makes another video explaining that there is no light source in the room that could have caused a reflection, and the painting is also matte paint, which is designed to minimize reflection, but something disturbing is captured.
Enseño un nuevo video enseñándoles el cuadro de frente. Es pintura mate, no se refleja. Ay, güey, no mames.
The whole frame of the painting suddenly moves by itself, confirming her suspicions that something paranormal is indeed going on with the painting.
The painting shifting to the side like that just isn't something to write home about. But that part there at the beginning, I'd be lighting that thing on fire. I could be wrong, and to be honest, I have proven in the past that I can be horribly inaccurate when reading people. But this lady doesn't strike me as the type of person who's likely to be fluent in the use of 3D software. And that's the only way I could see this being pulled off if it wasn't real. This is a crazy video. I don't know what to think about it. I'm excited though to see if we end up with any updates on this thing. I'm just wondering if she's going to catch anything else on video. This one's intriguing. Hey, Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com.
The following video was taken by a security guard who does the night shift alone in a big school, patrolling the school grounds to make sure the facility is secured. Late one night, while patrolling the school hallways, he began to feel like he was being followed by someone or something, and heard strange noises. Watch closely. Strange sounds can be heard coming from somewhere within the school. As he continues searching the place, he captures something that gives him the chills.
¿Escucharon?
What sounds like a distant scream within the building can be heard, scaring the security guard. After looking into the history of the school, he discovered that 2 students lost their lives in this very hallway. Then, as he enters a classroom, this happens. The chairs positioned on the table suddenly fall off on their own after he enters the room. Then, when he goes to check, he sees nobody there. After reviewing the security footage, he noticed they also captured strange things. The very next night, he sees it.
Oigan, miren, no sé si alcancen a ver ahí en la ventana. Ahí, que se vean, ¿sí ven? Ven. Si alcanzan a ver la sombra.
A dark figure can be seen peeking through the glass panel behind the door before retreating behind the corner. The activity is steadily increasing, and he is slowly becoming more afraid to work in this school.
First of all, I didn't hear any of the strange sounds in the first clip that he was claiming to be hearing, and I boosted the audio and looked for it. There wasn't even anything there in the waveform. As far as the chairs falling over, those things looked like they were stacked up pretty high. I'm sure that most of us guys have put chairs like that away after an event at a high school auditorium, and we've all seen how easy it is for those chairs to topple over if you stack them too high. They just don't balance well. They probably just shifted, and all the weight moving to one side caused them to topple over. And the clip at the end, if that were a ghost, why would it be hiding behind the door and peeking at the guy through the window? That's clearly a person. I know y'all say that I claim everything is fake, but we just had that painting video that I didn't try to explain away.
We are a light canvas. We are human. We are literally on the electromagnetic spectrum. We are an array. Our particles are like pixels, like a TV set. We're creating these holograms in our minds with the light prisms of what we're doing. So when you start looking at how we actually process light, I imagine the holographic imaging machine that we are through this whole wave spectrum, you begin to see that we are focusing on our framing and these triangular ways that we bring in through our own angles. It is our cosmic gateways, the third one here. I look at it as the magnetic part. We have the right brain and the left brain, and then we have the neutral part where we get to tap into that higher realm. This, just so you can see from a cymatics point of view, this is exactly what the different frequencies of the brain in these different states look like. So the music that you hear and the things that you do and all of these vibrational fields affect you. You all have an attitude or a tude, and this is how we amplify. Sound is an acoustic energy. It excites sounds and particles, and we affect things. Every single one of your senses are electric. Your brain, your teeth, your eyes, your nose, everything functions basically electrically. Oxygen ignites the fire. Our fire is the reason to be. Fire is the spiritual order of vibration. The brain looks to me like a full-on antenna. The question is, how wide is your bandwidth? And so when you begin to see that everything is basically electric and magnetic, there is no reason that you can't perceive. Tesla said, my brain is the only receiver in the universe. There's a core for which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not yet penetrated into the secrets of the core, but I know that it exists. And that's how we got the radio. When his mother passed on, he was still talking to her. That fascinated him, and that's how we got the radio. We are ourselves a standing wave, like a standing solid state unit. So do you channel? Where do you dial in? Do you remote view? When we created our TB liquid crystals, they actually mimic exactly the way our DNA works. So another way that we have actually replicated something outside of ourselves. So again, we are wired, it's like everything that we do with the brain is pretty much very computer-like. We are wired to survive, stimulus response, gates and open, closed. The heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain. Its magnetic field is the part that magnetizes and holds you. It's why love is so powerful. We bond like atoms, we cluster groups like particles, we arrange by sympathetic vibrations, and we evolve our relationships by chemistry.
This is from the Heart Math Institute. The state of the heart essentially governs the body's entire energy flow and directly influences the mind's mental and emotional state. It communicates vital information to the brain through the vagus nerve. The heart functions like a magnetic coil, radiating energy outward and connecting to key energy centers throughout the body. This creates a measurable biofield that extends about 3 to 8 feet from the body. If the heart isn't right, if it isn't clean, nothing else in the system can operate in alignment. I wonder if this has anything to do with why we all got so depressed and lonely during the pandemic, immediately after they initiated these social distancing restrictions, after being forced to stay out of reach of each other's biofield. Maybe our bodies were literally physically starved for human interaction on the scale that they were used to.
There used to be named as Newtonium. That's actually what it was. So with the periodic table, they won't allow anything under 1, which is interesting. They just won't allow that. That's basically what it was. There was a fellow named Dmitri. He was a Russian scientist in 1908 in the 1900s, and he discovered Newtonium, and he discovered all these other noble gases, which are considered the ether. And when he published all of his work, they actually took it off the periodic table and never showed it. And it's interesting because when you look up who created the periodic table, you find Dimitri's name. So you find Dimitri's name, but you don't find all of Dimitri's work. And so what I did was I started looking for books before the 1920s, and I found tons and tons of books on the ether being in the book, and them talking about the ether in every single book. But then, after the controlled the education system, because that's what they also control, that started to get weeded out. They started to remove all the stuff about the ether, because what happens is it makes your mind connect to something deeper, the fifth element, the spirit, chi, prana, life force, organ.
I think the ether has something to do with free energy. I think that there's free energy floating in the atmosphere that's just sitting there waiting for us to tap into it, and that's what they were trying to suppress when they wrote ether out of the history books. It may have a spiritual element to it, but I don't think that's the reason they're trying to keep it from us. It always comes down to money and control. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the ether suppression is the reason for all the chemicals that they're spraying out into the atmosphere. Maybe all those heavy metals do something to diminish the function of the ether, or makes it less detectable to any equipment that someone may be using in any attempt to detect it.
On May 15th, a woman posts a TikTok that goes by Brit, and thinking no one would believe her, she begins recording when her and her dog Jonesy witness something terrifying.
You can really hear her work. It has me really freaked out. Josie? Josie?
Yeah, she's just been staring at that, and then she started barking, and she growled. And when she growled, I kind of like booked it, but I don't really know, like, that's usually like her stance while she's waiting for me to come home, and I'm just like, is she waiting for someone to walk out of that closet? Like,
Now, the dog's behavior makes sense when you take note that they have a small graveyard right in front of their house. And it doesn't only attract Jonesy, but it also attracts cows. Except they don't own any cows. And whether it's day or night, these cows seem to gravitate towards this graveyard. But on the following night, something happens when she picks up her DoorDash that to this day she cannot explain. Here's that clip. Take a look. She explains how it felt like someone was right next to her and pulled her with their full force, and she was even nervous to post this video due to how it would look. Regardless, let me know what you think.
Regarding that first clip, if you go into your house and your dog is standing guard over an open closet door and growling viciously, please don't just assume it's a ghost and pull your camera out and start recording. Please call the police. What if that had been an intruder and her dog was trying to warn her? She just walks right in and starts announcing her presence. That's absolutely ridiculous. Seeing that second clip, though, of something pulling on her shirt when she walks through the front door, I would say she probably is correct, and that probably is what the dog was barking at. But whatever it was, I don't think it's friendly. That dog was mad. And while that bit at the end with someone pulling on her shirt absolutely could have easily been pulled off with a green suit and some keying, I think the girl's reaction seems believable, and she seemed genuinely confused when she walked in the house to find the front door open and the alarm sounding. It seems like this ghost wants her to think he's an intruder for some reason.
NASA tells us this is what a star looks like. So why from a home telescope does a star have angel wings? Now in Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 4 through 28 there are some descriptions of angels. I think you'll find these verses interesting. Appearance like burning coals or torches, they moved like flashes of lightning. Description of wheels beside each other, or wheels within wheels, full of eyes, moving in unison with the beings. Above them is a throne with a figure like a man, glowing with fire and brightness. That looks like a man with hands coming out under the wings, surrounded in fire and brightness. This one makes me think of angels appearing to people and saying, "Be not afraid," as if there's something to be afraid of. I would be a little terrified if this thing was in my midst. Revelation 9:1 says, "And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him," as in the star, "was given the key to the bottomless pit," referring to the star as a him. Revelation 1:20, "The mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks." The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches. This is in reference to the 33.33 angels that fell from heaven with Lucifer, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to earth. The stars to earth. Job 38:7, "When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy." Judges 5:20, "They fought from heaven, the stars in their courses fought against Sisera." Now, does this look like a him who could fight and sing and give praise to God? Because this actually does.
I had 2 big takeaways from this video. First of all, if ancient civilizations had advanced telescopes, which I think it would be absurd to think that they didn't, considering how obsessed with the stars they appear to be. Maybe this is why they had such an obsession with the stars to begin with. Maybe they knew that the stars were angels or spiritual beings because that information had been passed down from generation to generation and gotten to them. Maybe that's why they were so obsessed with their positions in the sky. They likely assumed they were placed where they were placed for a reason. The second thing, I'm just not sure what to think as far as the stars being angels idea itself. It makes sense, and the evidence that he presented certainly makes me question the narrative I've been given. I just can't wrap my head around why the angels would be standing in place in the sky for thousands of years, never moving, while humanity plays out. I'm going to have to do some digging and see if I can find any mainstream or well-respected astronomers that have done any digging on this idea, and also what the biblical scholars' take is on those passages in the Bible. It's perplexing, but I know one thing: it's going to be nice when the day comes that all these mysteries get revealed to us.
These are the remnants of a lost empire, the Tartarian Empire. And zoomed in here on just this map, you can see Russia up there on the left, well, what would become Russia, and Tartaria, complete with its own capital right there. Now they tell us it was just a placeholder name to describe the vast unknown eastern regions by European cartographers. Yet zooming in here, it looks pretty known to me. You can even see the Great Wall of Tartaria on the right there, complete with detailed cities, mountain ranges, rivers, and lakes. I would say it's anything but parts unknown. They even have different depictions of them. You have the Russians right there, Moscovian, and the Tartarians right there. But try as they might, the controllers of our history couldn't erase all traces of this empire. With maps from as far back as the 1400s, it is clear much has been left out of the narrative. As I say time and time again on this channel, history is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon, a set of lies they agreed upon. And if it's just the Tartarians you think they left out of our history book, that's just the surface of how deep this deception goes. The Tartarians were the last reset, the last unburial of our realm. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
I think there's enough evidence at this point to say definitively those people were 100% written out of history. And that's always been my biggest pet peeve with this story, is the answer to the question of why we have Tartaria written on all these old maps if the place didn't exist. They tell us it's just a placeholder name for places that they hadn't explored yet or didn't know that much about. Then why is it that that placeholder is being used in such grand scale, such large letters placed over a massive area on a map with all the smaller areas inside of it clearly mapped and identified? That's never made any sense from the first time it was said to me, and it was obvious from the start that there was some gaslighting going on. If you've read the book The Return of Jesus and where we are on the biblical timeline, I think there may be some connection there to that idea and to Tartaria. Also, just something funny I noticed, if Tartaria was a word used globally as a placeholder for unknown people or places, why does it put the little red dots under it whenever I type it out in my word editor like it's not a word? If that's what it meant and it was so universally used, why is it not still used for that today? Why is it just not a word anymore?
So Russia was blessed over Moscow with a spinning drone or UFO type object that seems to be being engaged by the military, and the rounds seem to be not really having much effect on what this object is. I mean, you can see something spinning, there's a light at the back, there's no noise associated with this other than the crackling of the machine gun fire, and if we listen closely now, you can't hear it. It circles back, and they kind of give up. And this was seen on another perspective as well, where there's quite a few different perspectives of this object, and each one is just equally as weird. So, I'm not sure what to think. Again, very strange. And the fact it's being engaged and having no effect, very strange once again. Alright? I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Russia, Get a grip, bruv. What is going on? Jeez.
That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. If Russia's military is that defenseless against these things, I really hope that's our military and not China's. Part of me wonders if they dropped that orb last week on purpose just to let it get picked up so they could check and see if people would be able to determine where it came from. And once they realized that their cover art of rudimentary chiseled lines fooled everybody and made them all think it was aliens, they could risk sending one of these things into enemy territory and really test it out. They probably hope that if it gets shot down and intercepted by the Russians, they're probably going to look at this thing and assume that it's alien and not immediately blame the United States. That's where my mind goes, but I'm a bit biased in the sense that I'm convinced this is pretty much all the government. I think they're just testing out new technology on an unsuspecting public.
This is a mechanical model of what you've just seen. Instead of a row of coils, we've got a row of rods. We're going to feed them with alternating current so that each one can rise and fall. And when we turn the whole thing, we get the impression of something traveling along. But I want you to notice that nothing actually travels along, because each rod only moves up and down. The thing that makes it real is when we put something into one of the troughs of the wave. Then something real travels along, can make it go the other way. If you watch an individual rod, such as this one, you'll see that it's only going up and down. There is no horizontal movement at all. Only the ball is a real thing moving side to side.
The electrons aren't moving in your wire. The electrons aren't moving down the wire to get to power your power plant. What's really happening is that you are stimulating the ether, right? You're stimulating the ether. This shoots up, then this shoots up, and this shoots up, and this shoots up. It looks like a movement to us because it forms a wave over time. It's exactly the same phenomenon as watching the wave in a football stadium or a sporting event. When you're watching the wave in the sporting event, the fans aren't running around with the wave, but it looks like a moving wave because of the time when the people are standing up. Imagine the 0 point energy all around you is the same exact way. That's what's happening. That's what he's saying is actually happening, is that you're not actually seeing the movement of the electrons here. What you're seeing is this illusion that looks like movement because of the relative stimulations of these electrons from potentially the 0 point energy.
So what is it that the electrons are moving down the line? The ether? If that's what he's saying, then why do the power plants exist on the other end of those lines? When I was a kid, I got put into this small group that did this report thing on the Tennessee Valley Authority in New Johnsonville, Tennessee. It's a big power plant that sits on the Tennessee River. We got to go inside the power plant and watch the process of how they turned coal into electricity. I was only about 10 or 11 years old at the time, so I don't remember every detail of the process, but it seemed to me like they were really doing something in there at the time. This would be really sneaky if we found out this were true, and this whole time they've been charging us for free energy. But if that were the case, we wouldn't need the power plants. All the power plants would be government owned and operated, and nobody would be allowed to go inside one.
His dog passed away, but one day he heard this. A man's beloved Chihuahua dog passed away. After grieving the tragic loss for many days, he finally moves on. But one day his security camera captures this. The man says the noise is the exact sound his dog used to make, and even his other dog looks confused. The camera also distorts under the table when the sound is heard. leading him to believe this was the spirit of his dog visiting him from the afterlife.
I typically wouldn't believe something like this, but that guy really sells it. You can tell he's overwhelmed with hearing that sound and doesn't know what to do. And of all the glitches to have, and of all the times to have one, that looked like the outline of a little dog under that table. I wanted to share that as our good clip of the day. I'm not sure what that was, because I'm not really convinced that the spirits of animals wander around, but I certainly don't know everything, and some things in this life are just unexplainable. But I'm betting that guy got next level closure after experiencing that. I thought that was awesome. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back soon with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com. And don't forget to drop a photo of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.